So, to RPD, or does this scream DSO issued Requiem, I guess, revolver? Or Lightning Hawk in this case. Anyway. Hey everybody, what's up? This is a Resident Evil Real Nerf edition, Retrokid Reviews. Doing my, off the cuff, just finished my first playthrough, story, for, Resident Evil Requiem, aka RE9. So, a couple of addendums. I tried my best to basically have, almost Leon-ish gear, but I guess Leon gear if he was cosplaying Ethan. Yeah, hoodies and him are kind of not his jam, and I forgot to realize that in the drip as time went on throughout the franchise. But I did find a decent, this is my Adventure Force, like last time I mentioned this early on, but looks good enough to be almost like a Silver Ghost, and probably his beginning pistol in the original start of this game as far as RE9 goes. But before we get to the Leon Fest of it all, we got to get to the Grace Ashcroft of it all. So, the big drawing hook for this now anniversary game, our Resident Evil franchise is now at 30 years. Congratulations, as always, to Capcom for that one. Discord beeps aside. Let's get on to it. What did I think of the overall story? It was good. It was a very decent love letter to the fans. I know there's some Easter egg stuff that I missed that I'll probably do a second or third playthrough of, and I'll probably have a short of. If not, I'll just do general vibes of it, if anything else. So, with that said, the plot of this game is pretty simple. You go to a hotel estate, and I didn't clock this at all throughout most of the marketing for this game for Capcom. But when you get to the actual map itself in the first, I guess, beginning hour of the game, it feels a lot like my hometown here in Queens. Like the under rails and everything just feels a lot like that. Maybe they're going for a more Chicago vibe because they also have under rails too. So I don't know. They were getting back in their hustle and bustle city vibes. And the reason for those city vibes is mainly for the Raccoon City of it all, yes. So, let's get to the villains first. There's one we knew from the jump, was Victor Gideon. I legitimately don't know the voice actor's name. The game is still very new to me, so again, as always, links down below to the IMDb. I think the full cast is probably out by now, so again, let me know in the comments if anything changed. Same for also for the fan wikis. Another thing I forgot to mention is that I was hoping for the longest time throughout the majority of this game, this game's rollout, that I thought it'd be Matt Mercer coming back to voice Leon. To my surprise, it was actually Nick Apostolias of the remake era of Leon. And to put it nicely, kind of makes sense that he would have his own, like, 3-game trilogy, and it's understandable now when you play it now as Leon. The context of there makes the most sense. The only thing I would love if there was moments of, like, Leon's action sequences to be more akin to, like, the CG movies that Matt made his whole thing about. Go to my reviews for that, obviously, in the playlist. So with that also being said, we're generalizing most of the spoilers here, mainly because the game is still new as of this recording. I'll probably talk more spoilery stuff, or more specifically Sphere Hunter and a bunch of other games, channels are probably already going to be going knee-deep into spoilers by now at this point by the weekend. By weekends out by the time of this recording. So, also for highlights for people who've already reviewed this, Kind of Funny did a good Games Daily discussing the whole thing. Game Ranks, Jake Baldino himself did a really good job doing it before you buy. The usual suspects of basic games journalism did what we all hoped that this was, peak. And believe me, this is a very peak game. Yeah, from gameplay, now there were some light memes of like, oh, Grace is going to be the more scary aspects of what, the RE engine is known for since 7, and then the action bits is all going to be, Leon. And it's a bit of both. Yeah, Grace is going through the tradition of, like, Resident Evil characters being scared at first and then getting their confidence as time goes on, like any horror franchise usually does. So, survival horror in this case as well will go a long way with that same theming structure. So, with that also being said, it's a really damn good game. When you finally get to be in Raccoon City and you see all the highlights of all the places, and this is just me, this is my first playthrough, just walking around as Leon, just mapping it out almost exactly how it was in the remake game. So my apologies to original game fans if they had the same kind of mapping structure of the layout of that version of Raccoon City in the original games. There are some shades to it. There is some mentions and nods to, like, buildings and locales that were from the original timeline. So that does keep essentially the crux of Requiem in mainline era kind of stuff. They only just splice cutting most of the flashbacks of what this version of Leon was going through in the remake. So again, there were some parallels there essentially. So yeah, I also until the DC news lately, earlier this weekend, in case you guys also saw in the cards, the plan was to have a non-spoiler review while do a loadout review of like what type of real nerd version of this new of RE9 Leon you need to really do. And aside from having a revolver, kind of like the Nerf Elite Trailblazer, it's not on sale. I thought there is some Amazon buy links. You can probably map this out to look like the Requiem. This is an 8 shotter. I think it's like 5 total. I could be with the original blaster, and I'm calling it blaster just for safety and legality purposes. In case firearms manufacturers and Google wants to be Google like usual for firearm stuff. So that's gonna be a very fun thing to do. Also, it looks gigantically huge on Grace throughout most of the third person aspect. And that was kind of the weird thing that I also liked was the first person and third person perspectives of like new gen fans and old gen fans having like this love letter to both of their eras of the franchise. I dropped that theme by the time we made it to the game's finale and just third person it mostly as Grace by way of a flashback that kind of ties things together with her with a new villain, which is going to be the where the light spoilers kind of come in, if I could get his name. Zeno, I totally forgot his name. To put it bluntly, for non-spoilers fans, it's got a lot of Wesker vibes. You'll know it when you see it, essentially. And there's also a big enemy boss types that are also huge callbacks to RE2 so again I'm not gonna spoil it much. The boss fights have probably already happened, so by the time this video drops you probably already know X versus here and who is there and all that other stuff. Yeah, so with that all being said, I'm still coming off of the ending. I love it. Apparently there's a selective choice-based ending. So I kind of had to really think on the 11th hour of the game, so that's kind of how it was. But ultimately, it is a good game. I know I'm generalizing more than usual. I know I'm not talking about every single spin kick or every cool, like, almost Mortal Kombat fatality that Leon was doing throughout the bulk of, like, his chapters of the game. But I think everyone who's done the non-spoilers kind of said it best. This is kind of the game that Capcom probably wanted to do when 6 was coming out way back then. And you could kind of see the love letter vibes of that bleeding into the game. You could kind of see that in the story. You could definitely see that with Leon. And this is like the only big spoiler I know. And most of everyone has speculated was probably on the money with Leon's new handler for this game. It's not Hunnigan like it usually is throughout, I want to say, was it 4 and 6? It's Sherry. And it makes sense because they have a lot of ties to Umbrella. They have ties to, like, a new way of, like, cursing them. That's as far as I'm going to go as far as, like, new virus drop as far as this version of RE goes. But yeah, as far as the monsters, since we're all here, a lot of, like, throwbacks to people from most of like the original game and remake timeline if you're remembering those NPCs and stuff like that as far as zombies go. And these are like almost bioorganically speaking and BOWly speaking, these are almost like damn near original recipe T virus like enemy types. For Grace, she has a lot of like zombies that also end up becoming like almost a callback to like Crimson Hens of like the original games. So that's a cool nod there, if anything else. Again, I could talk all day about the references and Easter eggs that they did a really damn good job on. I am a type of channel that will defend Easter eggs and will defend like fan moments and stuff like that and fan service of all kinds, because if they are done well, like this game has, it's not in your face. It's like right there at the jump. It doesn't impede the story whatsoever for anyone who's like story oriented and stuff like that. So with that said, and probably figuring out if the Samurai Edge is going to be a bonus weapon, probably the deluxe edition. Yeah, I didn't look into that when I was buying the game, long story short. Also, in case you could tell throughout this entire review, I do not have a physical copy on me, mainly because of peer pressure, and I kind of wanted to get this review out on time, so unless it gets upgraded to PS6 in like a couple of years, I'll probably get a physical version of that, and just go from there, if anything else. So, overall, final rating for Resident Evil Requiem. It's a 10 out of 10. I know this is a lot to say from me, who would probably be like a IGN reviewer and just spam 10 out of 10. No, this is actually a genuinely honest, like, good characterization of Leon nowadays. Post RE6, you could kind of see where he's been, and you can kind of see like the desperation of fighting to like get this out of his system one last time as far as his virus goes. Over on to Grace, there are a lot of nice shout outs to the Outbreak series. I think I've said this throughout most of my news coverage for the game. I never played Outbreak. I was never a huge stand for like the Ashcroft side of timeline, but for those who are, you are absolutely feasting off of a lot of like good parallels to other stuff. The Oswald Spencer of it all is still mentioned. Again, there's a lot of good ties to like all of Umbrella, and most importantly, Resident Evil's history with his historic franchise, and a very happy 30th anniversary, and a very happy anniversary in general to not just Resident Evil, but to Capcom, the devs, and people who have still been there after all these decades. I thank you for your service. I thank you as a player. I thank you as someone who used to be afraid of this franchise. Not kidding there as far as Nemesis goes. Yeah, another tie to, I guess, Leon's final boss fight. I'll talk about that probably in the spoilers. That's a little personal for me, if anything else. So with that being said, and final Requiem shots aside, what is your overall thoughts of Resident Evil Requiem? Did you get the game? Please leave spoilers down below, mark spoilers, leave non-spoiler thoughts also in the comments down below. High point this video if you are a new subscriber, and go to the end cards with, I think, this looks like a beginning pistol that Leon would have, right? Is he like John Wick in it? To my previous video, which was talking about DC news. Other hand here to the shorts playlist, which I'll probably do some spoiler thoughts with this game. And until next time, I am Retrokid Review saying, those were some Residents of Evil. Yeah, they were really, it was really, really evil. Really.